Hey y'all, Woody who? Good to see y'all once again. Long time no see, no hear. I've been actually under the weather, and for the first time, some of y'all actually see a familiar name on the bottom screen for those who are aware of me out here on YouTube. So I decided to finally put my actual YouTube handle here for Scorch Earth Incorporated. So y'all know this is yours truly from around the way. That this channel is more or less a platform where I co-host, but I also have guests that show up here too. So this is just another extension of yours truly. But without any further ado, want to get off into the topic that we have here to discuss. Well, for some, you see the thumbnail, and it was for some who are familiar with John Wick. Well, that was a scene of John Wick looking at his house that got burnt down. Someone actually set his house on fire. So, if you're familiar with the John Wick franchise, usually it's him getting revenge against people that took something from him. I think in the first installment, someone killed his dog and took his car. In the second installment, given what you see on the thumbnail, and no, it's no pun intended or not by coincidence, you see this as volume 2 of Real Gentlemen Don't Fit In, and John Wick Part 2 I used for a thumbnail. But yeah, he had to get revenge in John Wick Part 2 towards someone that burnt down his house. Okay. So but that's not what I want to talk about tonight, y'all. But I do want to still relate this in effect to John Wick, because the first volume of this Real Gentlemen Don't Fit In, I talked about Denzel Washington, how he played a particular character on a movie called Man of Fire. And so this particular installment of Real Gentlemen Don't Fit In Part 2 was about Keanu Reeves playing John Wick. Okay. And there's just been a lot of hypergamy going on out here, and just seems like you just got to keep speaking on it. So what I will say is this. So the only difference between a gentleman and a bad boy is that the gentleman, he also can start off with nothing, just like the bad boy. But unlike the bad boy, he got something going for himself. He's not just speaking just to be speaking about dreams that he's not trying to make come true. Okay. Like he actually has things going on, and he's a very focused man. He might have things, he might not have things, but one thing is in common with all gentlemen. They don't like to show off these things, okay? So, of course, you've been here at this channel long enough so far. And if you've been around me long enough so far, you know that I associate Real Gentlemen with Black Knight. So, that's the thing. In that vein of today's times, a real gentleman is not trying to fit in regards to hypergamy. He doesn't want to find feminine gender around him just because of the money he has. He wants someone around him because of who he is and how he can even acquire those things that he has, but it's based on who he is. Okay. So a woman wanting a certain gentleman has to love him and be around him and like him for who he is, not what he has. And that can't be your end game either. Okay. So there's that too. Because if that's your end game, a gentleman won't talk with you or to you to begin with. Get it? But that's the thing. I really am going with this idea of starting from nothing because, as y'all see with John Wick, he's had to do that many times when people try to take things from him, burn things down. He had to start from nothing. And it took a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of passion for him to go into his vault to pull out all types of weapons that he tried not to use. But every now and then he got to bring those weapons out to use. So there's a duality here. What do I mean by this? The duality of part of a man can somewhat seem like a monk. I say somewhat seem like a monk because he's not fully monk, but somewhat seem like a monk because, John Wick, he was just trying to have peace in his life. He didn't want to have to go back to being an assassin. He thought he could try to live somewhat of a normal life. But every now and then, someone tries to take things from him, and that makes him have to go back to being an assassin sometimes. So, real gentlemen don't fit in from the standpoint that your life will never be like normal like you think it will be. And even the people around you notice that. Like with John Wick, people like the police, the firefighters that came to his house, they were like, "You're back working again, John?" And then John will look back and say, "Yeah, I'm back working." And of course, what they meant was he's back being an assassin because when they have to come over to his place, usually when he's active as an assassin, some house is going to get burnt down, some cars going to get shot up, okay? Some streets are going to get blown up. That's associated with what John Wick had to deal with, okay? So when they see all that destruction around him, they just, oh yeah, they know John Wick's back at work. A gentleman goes through things similar, especially when you associate it with Black Knight. What do I mean by this? Well, people that kind of get around a certain kind of guy, they know when he's being very intense about things at any given moment, and they just see a difference in his aura. They know that he's just a little more focused about things in life than they normally would see him. I mean, he has his times when he chills and he's tending his gardens, his livestock. If he's the type that has a farm or a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, okay? Or he might just like his car, like John Wick had nice cars in the movie. There's a gentleman that likes his car, you know. He tends to that, right? But there might be a day where things change and they see him doing other things. Things are just a little more intense. So they're just more or less, instead of really asking a particular gentleman like they asked John Wick, "Are you back working again?" No, it'd be more or less in real life. It'd be like, "Hey, everything okay with you? We noticed things have kind of changed with you lately. We just want to make sure everything's okay." And then the gentleman, he'll simply look back in a similar vein of what John Wick would probably say in real life. He'll look at them back and say things like, "I'm okay, just another day. This day is a little busier than other days. That's all." And keep it moving, right? Because you got to be like less is more with things because you're really dealing with things that other people just would never understand. And there's just certain things you want to keep classified as a gentleman. Okay. Yes. So 1 second. All right. But yeah, there's just certain things as a gentleman you want to keep classified. This particular live stream won't be too long, but it'll be just long enough so that people know that we back recording that Scorch Earth Incorporated once again. Make sure that you tell somebody to tell somebody about this channel. Definitely more in store, more uploads on the way as well. But yeah, we'll continue on. We're not done yet. Okay. Um, Real gentlemen don't fit in because a real gentleman wants a lady. He don't care about hypergamy. He wants a real lady that respects him for being a gentleman, whether he got it or not. So he'll do nice things, but he only does nice things for a lady, not someone that expects him to do nice things. Because, see, that would be unladylike. A lady appreciates a gentleman and she shows him her appreciation as a result. Okay. So that in a sense is how a real gentleman don't fit in as well, because he might be looking spot on, smooth, suave, debonair, whether he was a prodigy, a protege, but he's definitely a paragon, more or less, probably even an icon in some people's eyes. The way he's iconic and nostalgic with things. Okay. Like, but when you hear him talk, you'll realize that he's not about the glitz and the glamour. He like, yo, that's just the light beaming off of me. I'm not trying to wear things that show off in the light. I don't want you to see me in that way. I want you to see me as bright, but I'm not trying to show off in the light. Like the angel of light, what they sometimes call Satan, the angel of light. But not to get all biblical, but I say that in a sense of where, hey, uh, the real gentleman don't want you to misunderstand him for someone that's being too nice. No, you're not going to like him. There might be a lot of things you don't like about him. That doesn't take away from him being a gentleman. That doesn't take away from the type of gentleman he is, but he makes it perfectly clear. Yeah, I'm not going to be the type that does everything you want. I'm not going to be the type that says everything you want. Okay. I'm just me. So I don't fit in that way of what you thought a real gentleman was, what you thought a real man was raised to be like. No, I'm not like that. I'm what an actual real gentleman is. Some of us didn't get raised. Okay. And if some of us got raised, it was contrary to popular belief as far as the way a gentleman needs to be. I was actually taught to be a real man that's gentle. Get it? So, and I have to be gentle in a world that is not sentimental, like that's more demented, right? Like there's times I have to reserve myself in the midst of hostility. Can't be quick to pull the draw, if you know what I mean. Like Wild Wild West. Pistol Pete type of stuff, right? Gotta hold your composure. Yeah, hold your composure on a lot of things, right? Um, so you don't fit in that sense because some people be like, man, why you ain't pop off at homeboy? He said all this about you. I'm like, nah, it ain't my time. Like, why? He's saying this about you and you ain't doing nothing. Like, but you already see the end game, you see the end result. You're like, no, this ain't my fight. I'm not gonna do that. I got other things in mind and I got other things I'm trying to accomplish. If I know what to do about someone like him, I'll know what to do when that time comes. Or if I'll know what to do with someone like her. Of course, I'm not advocating physical abuse. Okay, I'm just saying like, a gentleman like, nah, I'm a real man that's gentle. So there's a certain way I got to handle this situation. I can't just be quick to pop off just because somebody disrespected me a certain way. Okay. Sometimes silence is golden. Let other people talk so you can hear exactly what they say so they can eat their own words. You didn't feed them, they fed themselves. Can't blame me. Bite your own hand that fed you. Okay. So, in the sense of John Wick, I won't give too much away because y'all need to see the movie for yourselves. But as things progress, the whole world seemed to hate John Wick just because no one could beat him. So it seems the only way you could try to beat him is to have so many people come at him at one time. So real gentlemen don't fit in the sense that they're very hard to beat, especially if they're not trying to compete. A real gentleman just wants to be complete. So that's a different mindset. It's a different world. Like, look, I'm not even thinking about you, dude. I'm thinking about me and where I need to be. Not worried about you. What you got to say about me, I don't care. Talk all you talk. That doesn't define where I'm going in life. That might define where you're going in life because, hey, you got to be careful what you speak out here. It might apply to you. So I'd rather speak positive to people because that applies to me. Understand? So, um, a real man that strives to be gentle. So the funny thing was, even with all the people that were attacking John Wick, he still was graceful with them. He would say things like, consider this professional conduct. When he was in the midst of someone trying to kill him in the movie, and yet he spared that person's life, he was like, oh no, no, he said, consider this common professional common courtesy. That's what he would say. Yeah, like, yo, I spared you, bro. I wasn't trying to take you out. But let's not get into these type of conflicts again going forward. Consider it my professional common courtesy, or my common professional courtesy. Okay, that's what he would say. And that's how I believe, as a gentleman, you got to move out here. I can't say that's how you got to move as a man, because not every man is gentle. But do you really call that a man? I guess that sometimes, yeah, there's an understanding why some men can't be gentle at certain times, but you're not trying to take that out on anybody. Heck, when John Wick had to deal with people taking his dog, killing his dog in his car, and burning his house down, no, he wasn't gentle at that time, but he didn't take it out on nobody. He calmed down, and then he said, you know what? I'm going to deal with it then when I calm down. Like they say, you don't want to mess with the skillet while it's hot. Revenge is best served cold. Let things cool off. That person popped off at you. Yeah, they popped off at you and they were real hot about it. Let it cool off. Let them see what the other side feels like. Right? And so that's all John Wick did. And of course, I'm not advocating violence when I speak the way I just spoke. I'm just saying, like, with a real gentleman not fitting in, going back to what I said earlier, you're not quick to pop off at nobody like that. Let people talk. Let people do what they do. Yeah, let people do what they do. But you already got things set a certain way, especially as far as how you protect yourself. And you got a lot to lose. You're not just going to be quick to pop off at somebody that call themselves trying to disrespect you and things like that. So that goes against the popular notion of how people feel like you got to get back at somebody right away. You got to roast them right away. You got to do all the stuff right away after somebody did that to you. Now, there might be times you might have a reflex, because they'd be like, well, you got to protect yourself, defend yourself. I call that a reflex, because at that moment, you're able to reflex. But it's different than actually protecting yourself in a sense, right? No, it's a little different. It's a little different. Once again, you're thinking as a gentleman. Okay. I love certain martial arts moves where you disable a person, but you don't necessarily fatally injure somebody. You just disable them enough to where you'll put them on the ground, and as far as them getting back up, yeah, give it some time until they gain their conscience back, if you will. Like, you do just enough to where they can walk away and you can walk away, right? Doing just enough. Now, that's what they didn't like about Batman. Well, I won't say they, but I will say more or less, like, some people were like, well, Batman never was against guns. He didn't want to use guns or violence in that sense to deal with the villains. Batman was just being a gentleman about it. But of course, they have these alter egos, these parallel universes of what it would be like if Batman decided to kill versus just not wanting to kill like he is originally, right? Yeah, so you have other heroes per se that became more of anti-heroes, and they were like, Batman, that's the problem. You don't want to kill some of these people like you should be doing. Well, that wouldn't be gentleman of Batman if he did that, right? So, and as it is said in the streets amongst gangsters, they always say we deal with our own kind. We don't take hostility out on other people's. We don't do that to mothers. We don't do that to children. We don't do that to civilians or squares, if you will. We only deal with our own kind. Okay. So that's being a gentleman about it. You would think even people in the black world, well, what I mean by black world, I mean the dark world, um, they don't have that sense of ethics. So they're not being a gentleman. even amongst the savage life of the streets. But they'll just say, "Hey, man, what do you expect? This is a savage life. The street got no code." But the old gangsters would be like, "Well, we do have to have some code in order to not get caught up by the police, right? We got to have some type of structure, even amongst our wicked ways. We got to have structure, so we all can sinfully live the way that we live, right? Without getting caught. Now, you living to see another day, hey, it's just whatever our time is. I'm on the same time you on, and whatever happens, happens. But at the end of the day, it won't be at the expense of getting caught by the law. That's how a lot of gangsters stopped back then because they were just that's how they thought as gentlemen. But yeah, you don't see that now. You see just a lot of recklessness, a lot of lawlessness. You know, and so that's what surprised John Wick. Getting back to that, he was like, "I never thought you guys would try to kill my dog. I never thought you guys would try to destroy my car and blow my house up." Well, one of those gangsters was like, "John Wick, you broke the code. You got to get it back in blood. If you want to break the oath of your allegiance to our syndicate that you did a blood oath to, well, we're going to have to blow your house down." Well, see, in John Wick's case, he felt, well, this is amongst us. This is not amongst, civilians. It's not amongst children, women. This is me and you guys. I'm not hurting you guys by walking away. So, you know, that's what he thought. But these people had other plans in mind for him. They didn't want him to leave. So, so that's the thing when you join these organizations out on the streets, you got in by blood, you got to leave out by blood. But see, that's the thing. John Wick knew that in the movie, and he like, well, I got to deal with what comes with that. Just as long as you don't hurt nobody innocent, right? But I'd say this, like, yeah, as a gentleman, you really think about who you're around and who you don't need to be around, and what oaths and allegiance you pledge yourself to, that it benefits people. It's not about hurting people, right? So, in a sense, real gentlemen don't fit in just because he knows there's a lot of stuff that's off. You want me to be a part of this, and I'm not even necessarily talking about gangs or nothing like that, but just things in general, jobs, organizations, committees. Like, nah, y'all doing the most. Y'all affecting a lot of people out here with your decisions you're making. And I don't think I want to be an advocate of that. I don't want to be a support of that. I don't think I want to vote for that particular person to be president. Not saying names, I'm just saying, like, you just think like that as a gentleman. Like, I know what I should and shouldn't be doing right now. I can speak my mind on it. I can stand on it. Okay. And so, be willing to get your house burnt down. Be willing to have someone kill your dog and take your car to stand on your belief. Because yeah, there's going to become a matter of time when you just, hey, you feel like you don't want to be part of certain things no more, certain organizations. Hey, think about what Kanye West did to get out of Adidas, right? And then think of what he had to go through as a result. So it's stuff like that, it never ends peacefully. But you could be at peace about it and just be prepared, be prepared with what comes along the way with that type of stuff, right? But I guess if nothing else, what I want y'all to get from this particular live stream is just the simple fact that yeah, you don't fit in because you're just trying to you want peace in your life now. You don't want it to be towards all chaotic and you're doing all these favors for people that they don't really have no regard for your life. It could even be an employer. Okay, like, yo, I know what I signed myself into, but hey, did y'all sign something for me? Like the peace that I need along the way and not feel like I'm overworked. Okay. Like, want to feel like I can be humane and also be sane. You have somebody work long enough, they're going to feel like a robot after so long. You don't want nobody to feel robotic after so long, right? Everybody deserves a break. Everybody deserves some rest out in this crazy world. Yeah, but Real gentlemen don't fit in because they think more like mavericks. They speak more on their piece and why they decided they would make a lot of money. Like, yo, they like, I didn't make a lot of money because I wanted to be rich. I made a lot of money so I can have more time to rest. See? Yeah, be rich in health. You got all this wealth so you can improve your health. Health is wealth. But yeah, with that said, stop by for the next live stream. Hope y'all like this one. Those checking this out on the replay, you got to move through the flames. Don't get caught up in the game. Out amongst all of this scorch earth.